Hi guys, my name is Mr. Graves. I'll be teaching you guys the Pythagorean Theorem today. In fact, let me actually go ahead and make sure I write that as the title. There we go. And usually every time I always start a lesson, I always start a lesson with the vocabulary. So I'm going to have it A here for vocabulary. And these are some very important words that you need to know. Number one, you have to know about something called the hypotenuse. Okay. Hypotenuse usually is C, and it means the longest side of a 90-degree triangle. Actually, I should go ahead and actually make that a right triangle. My apologies. We have to use the right words. Words are very important. A right triangle. And then we have something called the legs. The legs are usually A or B, and those are usually the shortest and second longest sides of the right triangle. So I'm actually going to draw a picture to illustrate this for you guys. So I'm going to draw a right triangle. You know this is a right triangle because that right there, that little square, is equal to 90 degrees. Okay? And likewise, I'm going to do different colors. So the longest side is always the side that's directly across from the hypotenuse. So C is the side that's directly across from the hypotenuse. And then we have the legs, A and B. I'm going to make A the shorter side. And I'm going to make B the second longest side. Okay? So as you can see, basically, the legs, A and B, are always adjacent to the right triangle. Always the sides adjacent, so not the right triangle, to the right angle. Now, there's one more thing you need to know, and it starts with a formula. Let me clear this out. So then we have to actually go talk about the formula. The formula is in the form A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So essentially what I'm saying with this formula is we have something called the Pythagorean Theorem. This is what it is right here. And all it really means is this. Is that if I take the two numbers of the legs, so I say A plus A, well not A plus A times A, I'm sorry. Should be A times A. Sorry about that. So I'm just saying if A times A added together with the product of B times B, I will get the product of C times C. So essentially, I am saying that the two legs are going to equal the hypotenuse. That is what I am saying. So essentially, I'm going to use an example. Say if I say, I have this right triangle right here. And I say that this is 3, 4, and 5. I'll say C is my biggest side, followed by B and A. So if I write the formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and I say that A is equal to 3 to the second power, which is the same thing as 3 times 3, which is 9. Then I have B squared, which is 4 squared, which is 4 times 4, which is 16. Then we have C squared, which is 5 squared, which is 5 times 5, which is, so it's 16. Now let's do the math. 9 plus 16 is 25. Is 25 equal to 25? Yes, it is. So this is indeed a right triangle. Eventually, when we go forward, we're going to actually discuss more about something called the converse. Essentially, what that means is I am going to try to prove that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But that's not until that was not going to be until later. Okay, so let's do a few some more examples, so that way it'll become clear to you. I'm going to use different colors to show you guys how this is supposed to go. And I hope this really helps you guys. I really do. Let me clear this out. Let me do one example. Let me just call this example 1. So example 1 here, we have what looks like a right triangle. Like so. And then we have 19 and 17, and we don't know what this is. So if I label these points correctly, remember, C is always the side diagonal across from the 90 degrees, so that's C. This is going to be B, and the missing side is going to be A. So I write the formula, start the first step. Step 1, I write the formula. So I'm going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know a is the unknown, so that's going to be just the way it is. I know b is going to be 17 to the second power. And I know c is going to be 19 to the second power. So 17 to the second power is 17 times 17. So if I do 17 times 17, I get 289. Then I'm going to do 19 times 19. And that's 361. And now I need to think algebraically. Okay, I need to think for a second. What number plus 289 equals 361? Well, to figure that out, I need to do the opposite of adding. So I'm going to subtract 289 on both sides. So I'm going to go back. First step, I wrote the formula down. Step 2, over here, I substitute the values. Step 3 here, and this is step 3. I'm going to do it in a different color so that way it looks a little bit nicer. So step 3 here, I'm going to subtract. Now, this is very important to know that we only do this if we're trying to find the leg A or B. We don't do it if we're trying to find the hypotenuse. I'm going to show you an example where we have to find the hypotenuse soon. So I've go ahead and subtract both sides. Minus 289. That goes away. So 361 minus 289, subtract. Have to borrow. This becomes 15. This becomes 2. This becomes 7. 15 minus 8 is 7. 11 minus 9 is 2. Now, a to the second power. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting. The very last step, step 4, I need to take the square root on both sides. And we have to do that because this is saying essentially that a number times itself equals about 72. So I take the square root of both sides. So A is going to equal, so I'm going to do square root of 72, which is approximately 8.49. And that is my answer. Okay, so that's an example where you're trying to find a leg. Now, this is actually, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I write this down as the title, to find a leg. To find the leg, A or B. Those 4 steps, you have to subtract. Now, I'm going to do a different example, example 2. So example 2 here, I'm going to do my triangle. I'm going to have 5 here, 13 here, and a question mark here. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the first step. I'm going to write down my formula. So I'm going to have A here, B, so A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'm trying to figure out what C is. I know A is 5 to the second power, which is 5 times 5, which is, of course, going to be 25. I'm going to do B squared, which is 13 to the second power, which is 13 times 13, which is 169. So 25 plus 169 is 189. So the last thing I have to do, I wrote down the formula. Step 2, I substituted. I hope the colors actually help you guys out because it seems to work for a lot of us. Step 3 is I added. And then the last step, step 4, I'm going to take the square root. So if I do that, I take the square root of both sides. So the square root of 189, let's see here, square root of 189 is indeed approximately, wait, let me make sure that's actually even right. Oh, 25 plus 169 is not 189. It's 194. Wow, that is so embarrassing. Yeah, it's 194. I have to say, what the heck is that? The square root of 194 is indeed about approximately going to equal 13.9. And that's how you do it. So based on that, I need you guys to do the rest of these problems. I'm going to write down. I'm just going to do 2 of them, okay? And then we'll call it a day. So number 1, they have A is equal to 12, B is equal to 5, and C, we don't know what it is. And number 2, I have A is equal to 8, B is equal to something I don't know, and C is equal to 10. This is your formula you need to use. And I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm here to help you, of course, if you get stuck, okay? All right, guys. Best of luck, okay? I'm here to help you guys. Let me know if you still have any questions, okay?